do. You know what to do.
G'day and welcome to a special episode of Sarah's Music from Down Under. Today we're in stunning Sydney, one of my favourite cities in the world, where this week Australian classical musicians are taking part in a very special event, the Australian World Orchestra. The Sydney Opera House is one of the most recognisable buildings in the world, and to stand next to it in person is amazing. The Australian World Orchestra is rehearsing and performing here in Sydney Opera House with Sir Simon Rattle this week. The orchestra is made up of some of Australia's most successful classical musicians from both here at home and abroad. The Australian World Orchestra was founded in 2011. The members are Australian classical musicians from some of the best orchestras in the world who return home to join forces with fellow musicians from Australia's own top national orchestras. The result is 100 fantastic musicians from 40 different orchestras united by one nationality, all under one roof.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Australian World Orchestra, this is your 10-minute call. This morning's rehearsal will commence in 10 minutes.
Okay, see you at the end of the journey.
Alex, you have done amazing things for Australian music. This whole project is incredible. How did you come up with the idea?
Thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. It was a dream of the musicians always for the last 20, 25 years. And of course, I'm a conductor and I used to work I still do a lot in Europe. And wherever I went, there were always Australian musicians performing. And of course, as Australians will know, after a performance, you always go out for a drink or a meal. And we would always discuss all the Australian musicians playing around the world and how well they're all doing, and imagine if we got them all together to play in an orchestra. And of course it was a dream, and it was sort of a fantasy. So we went to a few important people in the music scene, people like Peter Weiss, who is this phenomenal philanthropist. And
because funding this thing it's huge.
It's really hard, yeah. It's
you
huge.
bring people back from all over the world. We've been talking to people from Europe, from America, I mean, it's really an expensive thing to put on.
Yeah, because we pay for their airfares, and of course the hotel. It's all got to be funded, you know. So
conductors don't come cheap either.
That's true. That's true. But you know, I've got to say, they actually do it for mates rates. They really enjoy it. Mates rates, yeah. And I like how Simon described it as, you know, it sounds like the best party on earth. All these Australians coming together, and it's a festival feel, and there's no stress, there's no pressure, there's no, you know, and these conductors quite enjoy that, because we're not looking for a relationship or anything. It's just come out to Australia, have a great time with these musicians who all want to be performing at their highest level, and who want to be there and perform for you. And maybe have a little holiday, take a week off as well, and see a bit of Australia. And that's all we want, you know, have a great time.
And the unique thing is, there is no other professional orchestra that comes together with people all from one nation. I mean,
this is completely unique on earth.
Last note's fine.
It's so nice to see my boss in Sydney.
Oh my God, is he here?
Sir Simon Rattle, my boss and conducting the Australian World Orchestra this week. Has it been fantastic?
It's been wonderful. I mean, it's really a great orchestra.
What makes them so special?
Well, first of all, it's great players, of course. I mean, without that, you can't do anything. But I think there's so many stories. You know, you feel, if music's all about stories, you feel everybody's history. And they've all been friends forever. Lots of them haven't seen each other for years. Everybody's here just because they want to be.
It's an amazing atmosphere.
Oh, it's
not only
astonishing.
on stage, but in the bar.
But it's sort of, Simone Young said it's like a youth orchestra with wrinkles. But you know, it is like it's like some kind of orchestra camp where everybody's just having a big party. But they play wonderfully.
And what about the acoustics of this incredible hall?
Look, it's
beautiful.
fine. It's an incredible, iconic, moving building. But well, not yet. It's also such an emotional thrill to play here. It means so much to be in this building, which represents Australia. How wonderful a country is actually represented by a concert hall.
Thank you. Really looking forward to the concert.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan.
Peter, what orchestra do you play with? I've seen some Danish here on your. So I assume. DF Verbind, and that means.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
And what orchestra do you play with?
Danish Radio Symphony Orchestra, over in Copenhagen.
How long have you been there?
13 years.
13 years. Why do Australians leave home? It's so gorgeous here.
Oh, it's for the weather over there, you know. It's
Yeah,
Mother
right.
Nature, yeah.
The weather in Denmark.
Great surfing, yeah.
Stanley Dodds is my colleague in the Berlin Philharmonic and is here for the week for the AWO. It must be quite a different journey to work this week than it is in Berlin.
Well, look, it just seems to be the same every day. The sun is shining, the water is glistening, you take your ferry ride to the Opera House and just watch it literally sail past. I mean, I don't think you can ever quite get used to that.
It's an incredible
stunning.
city, it really is. What is the most exciting thing about being part of AWO?
Well, look, you know, it's really getting back together with old friends, some new friends. I mean, there's actually plenty of people here that I met for the first time in AWO. I left Australia when I was so young, so...
I thought you all knew each other. I thought it was...
We know about each other. I mean, like, you don't have to ever ask somebody too many questions and they'll say, oh, do you know this Australian, do you know that Australian? So we all know each other, at least indirectly, but it's really great to all be in one spot.
This week, the Australian World Orchestra is taking the time to promote the new generation of Australian classical musicians. The Australian Youth Orchestra has been invited here to Sydney to sit in on all the rehearsals and take part in masterclasses being held by members of the Australian World Orchestra.
1, 2. Let's say ya ba 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 da 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 da. Just go to those notes a little bit more. They don't have to be accented, but just make them really beautiful notes.
The soloist for this year's AWO program is the Czech mezzo-soprano Magdalena Kozina. Magdalena, it's your first time inside the Sydney Opera House. What's it like for a singer in there?
Well, you know, this building is completely iconic place, and it's wonderful from outside and of course from inside as well. But what I'm looking forward to is actually to meet the Australian public and to feel, you know, the people and the response in the hall. Because for me, this is always more important than actually the acoustic. It's the energy which happens between me and the people in the hall.
What about your songs? They're arranged by an Australian.
I'm so happy that Brad Dean, a very famous Australian composer, agreed on doing this for me, because I'm singing these songs. They are written for piano and voice, and I've been singing them a lot, and I love them. And I always felt like there is so many colors, and they would so much suit to an orchestra as well. And he did a fantastic job. Yesterday I was hearing them for the first time, and it's very difficult to orchestrate songs well. It's because they are also quite low, and they are, you know, because they are written for piano. Debussy wasn't thinking about about the balance. And with a huge orchestra, you have to be really very clever not to cover the voice. And I think he really felt what Debussy wanted to say, at least according to my opinion.
I can't wait to hear them. You've got to go up to rehearsal now, so we'll let you go.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the sun just set behind Sydney Harbour Bridge and the concert's about to start in Sydney Opera House. I'm really looking forward to it. Hope you had a good day with us today in Sydney. It's such a magical place. I love being here. So goodbye from down under and see you later, mate. So for today's Australian Horn Challenge, I'm challenging the wonderful horn section of the Australian World Orchestra to play something Australian and to let me play with them. How about it, guys?
Awesome.
Awesome.
1, 2, you know what to do.